This is the topic 6 video for chapter 5 inequalities, solving compound inequalities. So before we were already given the inequalities and we just had to graph them, they were solved. Now we're given an inequality that needs to be solved and then graphed, but they're both it's gonna be compound. We're gonna see and or the fancy little sandwich style with the x in the middle or the variable. So for the or statements, again, we need to find the combination of solutions from both of the graphs. The and statements, we need to find the overlap of the solutions of the graph. So if we look at our first example, let's solve c plus 2 is less than or equal to 3. Get c by itself by subtracting 2 from both sides, and then we get c is less than or equal to 1. Our next inequality, start by subtracting 4 from both sides. Negative c is greater than negative 2. Then we need to divide both sides by negative 1. Remember that when we divide by a negative, not only do we need to divide negative 2 by negative 1 to get positive 2, but we flip our sign. So now let's go and do our side work, graph them both separately, and I can see that because of the and statement, we're looking for the overlap. So there's overlap starting at 1 with a closed circle going to the left. So we need a closed circle at 1 with our arrow going to the left. We cannot use this base from 1 to 2 because it's not a solution for both. That word and makes a big difference. Our second inequality, all we need to do is divide by negative 1. Again, not forgetting we need to flip our sign. Our second one is 2 steps, add 3 to both sides, then divide both sides by 2. We get n is greater than positive 4. So again, let's do our little side work and graph them. And then we can see that the word is or, so it's anywhere where there's a solution. So left to right, it starts at negative 2 and ends forever to the right. So what we need is an open circle at 2 and our arrow going forever to the right. Alright, let's start with our third example. So we solve our first inequality by adding 1 to both sides. And then, again, don't just say no solution because we can do 0 divided by 2. We get x is less than 0. Our next inequality, add 1 to both sides, and then divide both sides by 2. Again, let's do our little side work with 0 and 1. And because of the word or, it's a combination of the two. So it goes left, all the way left to 0 and stops at an open circle, picks back up at an open circle at 1, goes forever to the right. So we need an open circle at 0, arrow going to the left, open circle at 1, arrow going to the right. Now our next one is that little sandwich style, but this time we have to solve. Notice that the x is not by itself. So we need to solve this just like an equation. Work inside out. So if we want x by itself, we got to start by getting rid of that negative 2. So we're going to add 2 to the middle. Whatever we do to the middle, we have to add to the right and the left. So we're working inside out. So we're left with 6 is less than 2x, which is less than 12. And to get x by itself, divide by 2. Again, whatever we do to the middle, we have to do to the right and the left. So we end up with 3 is less than x, which is less than 4. So graphing these, we need an open circle at 3, open circle at 4, and since x is in the middle of 3 and 4, our line connects the two. Number 5 and 6 are also the same style. We need to work inside out, so we need to start by subtracting 2 from the middle, the right, and the left. Then to get h by itself, we need to divide the middle by 3, the right by 3, and the left by 3. We get 4 is less than h, which is less than 0, but this doesn't make sense because 4 is not less than 0. So if we were to separate this, if we look at the first part, 4 is less than or equal to h. That's the same as h is greater than or equal to 4. Then if we look at the middle and the right, we've got h is less than 0. So if we were to graph these as an and statement, we've got no overlap. So this is no solution. That one was tricky. Number 6, we have to get rid of our fraction by multiplying by the number in the denominator. So we're going to multiply the middle by 2, the right by 2, and the left by 2. Next, we're going to add 5 to the middle, add 5 to the right, and 5 to the left. We get 13 is less than or equal to x, which is less than 25, and it makes sense because 13 is less than 25. So we need a closed circle at 13, an open circle at 25. Since x is in the middle of those two numbers, our line connecting is in the middle. Last one, start by subtracting 3 from both sides. We get x is greater than negative 5. Then we got a two-step equation for the second. Subtract 1 and then divide by 2. So again, let's do our little side work. And because it's an or statement, we need a combination. So from left to right, it's always a solution. So this is all real numbers. So our graph, once again, is just a line with arrow at both ends. Go ahead and do the U-tries, numbers 1 and 2, and that will conclude the video.